if that's something that you're uncomfortable with. And I completely forgot to do that at the beginning of this. Anyway, so I'm going to turn it over to Dr. G now, and we'll go from there. So thank you, and it is really good to see everybody. And I'll be coming back in a few minutes with some other stuff about the department.
Hey guys, it's good to see all your faces. It's so strange, I haven't seen some of you in so long. I'm happy that you guys are all here with us. There are a number of students who couldn't join us today, especially new freshmen and sophomores who haven't met with us yet. So we are going to spend a little bit of time just talking about the major and some opportunities. So some of you may know these things, some may not. I'm going to ask to hear from some of you for some help to kind of make these things I'm talking about sound a little more exciting, like scholarships and study abroad and things like that. And then I'm going to introduce some alums from the program who are going to talk to you guys about what they're doing post-graduation. So I'm going to try to share my screen here. I'm still really not great at this, so just bear with me for a second. All right, it's PowerPoint. Can everybody see my PowerPoint? Yes? Okay, very good. All right, so one of the first things I want to do is just go over the history major program and talk about the major, because we get a lot of questions about the major in our advising appointments. Here, let me see. The doorbell is going off. Hang on. All right. Sorry about that. Okay, so back to the major. Whenever we talk about this, there's a little bit of confusion about how the classes work, so I just wanted to go over it really quickly. The history major itself is really not a huge time commitment, so it leaves you open for a lot of other academic possibilities. It's just 12 classes, right, which is 33 credits. You have a core set of courses you have to take at the lower division level. So that could be either World History 1, World History 2, and one US class, or you could do the US Survey 1, US Survey 2, and one of the World History classes. You're welcome to take the 4th class in the survey if you want, but we do have this flex class built into the major. And this is the thing I get the most questions about, right? So the flex class can be anything from the lower division core, any 2000 level class that we offer on campus, and there aren't many that aren't in the core. So 2030 or Tennessee history is a class that you could use there. But if you've transferred from another institution and they have a 2000 level course or 1000 level course, that's where we can plug it in. And so it gets you through a little faster if you're a transfer student, and it gives you a little more flexibility as well. So if you want to take that course as an upper division course, that's absolutely an option. And a lot of students come in and they're already ready to jump into that upper division coursework. So you guys are welcome to do that. Of your upper division classes, you take 7 total minimum. You take 8 if you use the flex class as an upper division course. You can focus your studies in anything you like. So we don't have official focus areas. We like to give you all the flexibility to take the courses that you want. So some of our students, you'll hear them say, oh, my focus is the ancient world or American history. It's kind of self-declared, and you're welcome to do that. But we want to keep it open for you. So the only restrictions that you have within the major in those upper division courses is that you have to take 2 classes from outside the areas of the US and Europe. And so we call this often the global requirement. But what it means is that those 2 courses have to be focused either in Africa, Asia, Latin America, the Middle East, or they need to have global or world in the title. So for example, if you took a World War II class, that can count as one of your global courses. We don't have a list of these, and that's honestly because we try to keep it flexible. So we'll talk to you guys about that in your advising meetings about what counts and what doesn't count. Sometimes we'll use the ancient world class, for example, when as long as a class is touching on other areas of the world, we have some flexibility there. Now, if you're only doing 33 credits in the major, it leaves you with a huge number of elective credits. So most of our majors have at least 21 elective credits at the upper division level that they have to take. So you can double major, that's definitely an option. You're welcome to minor or double minor. Some of the common programs that we see minors with are up on the board here. I mean, the English minor is so easy because you've already taken all of those lower division courses for the gen ed. You just have to take 4 more upper division classes. I don't feel that strongly about minors, but some people really do. So just think about what else you might want to study besides history. And if you don't think you want a double major, think about a minor, or think about places we can cobble together what would look like a minor. For example, before we had a classics minor, I used to make up kind of a makeshift minor with students where you take a class in political science in the ancient world, a class in philosophy in the ancient world, art history classes, you know, so we would mix things around from different departments. So we can definitely tailor that as well. I did invite the students today who are just humanities focused. So there may be students here who don't want to major in history. I do have the minor information up there. It's also good for you guys to know about as history majors, because it doesn't happen often, but every once in a while someone will leave the major. And when they do, we always encourage them to keep a history minor, because most of our students, by the time they make that decision, they've already taken the core and you only need 3 or 4 upper division courses. And so it's pretty easy to keep on your schedule. So anyway, I just wanted to go over that so we're all clear. I know current majors frequently have questions about the global requirement. So hopefully I've clarified that here. And we'll have a Q&A at the end. You can ask us questions. Let's see. I can't move through my thing. There we go. All right. So this is what I'm sure most of you are dying to know, and I kind of baited you here for. We just had our schedule meeting, so it just happened. We were just negotiating what classes may or may not happen. I think you guys will be pleasantly surprised. I guess first I should probably talk to you about the way that classes are going to work. And so what we're doing is we're trying to be conservative. We're scheduling about half of our upper division classes as online asynchronous. So those are those courses you're familiar with that are the M50 sections. Those classes you can complete on your own time. They obviously have a set course schedule, but you can log in and out as you like. The other half of the upper division classes are going to be what are coded when you look at the schedule as remote. And remote courses this semester have been kind of at the discretion of the faculty member. Yeah, so this is that's right. So some of you are taking remote classes that are completely asynchronous. Some of you are taking courses that are meeting once a week. Some are meeting twice a week, 3 times a week. In the spring, these things are going to be more structured. So if you pick a course that says remote, it will meet at least 1 time a week at the set time that it's supposed to meet, if not more. So definitely something to think about if you are working or you have kids at home that are in virtual school. I know we don't know what things are going to look like come January, but if you think it might be difficult for you to be in synchronous meetings, then looking at those online courses would be what's best. We're even scheduling a few courses on campus. So our Medieval Europe class and Emergence of Modern America will be offered in the classroom in big classes with social distancing, we assume. So if you're really dying to get back on campus, sorry, that was a bad way of phrasing that. If you're really eager to get back on campus, we will have some options. I would imagine if things are as they are now, those will probably get turned into remote sections. So do know that if you're registering for a remote class and the virus, the infection rate is high, we're probably going to transition those courses. So let's see. I did note on here which courses are global. That way you guys would have an idea if you really need to get those global courses in, how you can fulfill that requirement. I did want to just highlight a few classes for you guys to think about. We have a new professor, Dr. Kin, who just arrived here from Yale, and he is going to teach a class on the history of coffee. So I think that's going to be a really cool opportunity for you guys. It's a new class. We're offering Dr. Eisel's Witchcraft and Magic in Early America. Let's see, anything else exciting here? We've got Dr. Bond's Slavery, Freedom, and Segregation. But we're hoping that you guys are going to feel comfortable with this mix, that you have these 2 different options. You have a wide range of classes. You're going to have at least 4 or 5 global courses to choose from. We don't know what the times are going to be that these remote classes are going to be offered at yet, but we will tell you guys as soon as we know. We'll get you a draft schedule out. And I think this is 18 upper division classes, which might be a little more than we had this past semester. And we may add 1 or 2 more, but no matter what you like, you should get a little bit. And, you know, there's a nice smattering of things here. So those are the courses. As you know, as majors, you are welcome to hang out in the HERC when we're on campus, but now that we are not on campus, the HERC is less available to you in physical space, but definitely available in virtual space. So I've been emailing like crazy. So those of you who are already majors know that we're doing virtual tutoring through U of M's partnership with the third-party platform Upswing. And we have our HERC tutor, Kelsey, who's a PhD student in Egyptology in the department. Kelsey's here. And she's available to meet with you virtually. You can turn your screen on, off. You can drop papers for her. So that's definitely an option for you. And I'm going to actually hand it over to Kelsey for a minute so she can talk to you more about what virtual HERC looks like.
Hey everybody, like Dr. Gadzuzian said, my name is Kelsey. It's actually not my first year working for the HERC, it's my second year. So unfortunately, I'm not gonna be able to see you guys and hang out with you guys in the HERC, but in the meantime, we're gonna be virtual. So we're really excited to bring that to you guys. So the HERC stands for History Educational Resource Center. And as you actually right behind Dr. Gazuzian, for those of you guys who haven't been in the HERC, that's the HERC. I usually say it's the big colorful building in the basement because it is a big, well, not building, big colorful room. Really easy to identify once you look inside. So really the HERC is here for you guys. When we're on campus, it's a study space. It's a space to have meetings with fellow classmates, that kind of thing. But usually the most popular thing that we get as a request is to review papers and writing assignments. So I can walk through the papers with you and look at grammar, look at how you're supporting your arguments, what kind of support you're using, citations, and so on. But we can help you with any part of the writing process. We can start with, working through the prompt, coming up with a game plan, outline, thesis statement, you name it. Basically, if you have an assignment, for one of your history classes, you can bring it to me or to the tutors in the HERC, just me this semester. We can work through it with you and get you started off on the right foot. And just to add, my hours this semester through Upswing, so the virtual tutoring is Monday and Wednesdays from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And then Thursdays from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Thanks, Kelsey.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Someone else here. All right. Thank you, Kelsey. I appreciate it. I'm going to share this, the PowerPoint with you after the presentation. And so you'll have links there, but you can also find Kelsey's information and the Upswing links on the HERC page through the history department. So that is available to you. I would strongly encourage you guys to take advantage of the Upswing tutoring platform, even if it's not for your history classes. You can get up to, I think it's 300 hours of tutoring a week. I don't even know how that's possible, but it's there. So, if you're struggling in your Spanish class, or your math class, or whatever it is, please go on there and make some appointments and get some help. So I think that it's a really underutilized program here. So you guys should definitely take advantage. All right, I'm gonna reshare my screen here. Here we go. All right, so we got the HERC. One other thing that I want to talk to you guys about real briefly is the honors program. And the reason that I want to bring this up is that it's something that I talk about with students in advising meetings, but we really have very few students who take advantage of this option. So I wanted to kind of plug it here and see if I could convince some of you guys to consider doing our honors program. So to get in, you need to be in the honors program already, in the Helen Hardin honors program, and to have completed about 60 hours of credit. So I think 55 is the minimum. You need to have done a few history courses, and you need to have a GPA of a 3.25. So I know a lot of you here qualify for that. The program itself is a really great opportunity to get one-on-one time with our faculty members, something that you guys don't really have an option to do otherwise. Very few of our students do directed readings courses, which is a type of course where you identify a topic you're interested in, and then you meet with a professor and you guys pick a list of books, maybe 5-10 books, and you read them. You meet in the office or, this semester virtually, and you talk about books. So it's a class where you talk about books that you like, which is pretty cool. When you do the honors program, that's a required component. Some students do it once, some students do it twice. But really the program itself centers on doing those directed readings courses, developing a research topic, and writing a thesis. If you are someone who's interested in going into grad school, this is a really valuable thing to do. If we pace it right, you can actually have a writing sample from your thesis ready at the time that you apply to your graduate program. And we are always available, the HERC is always available to look at your writing samples, but to have a professor in the department working with you, working on that draft with you, probably writing your letters of recommendation, knowing you very well for your grad school applications is really important. Even if you're not going to graduate school, it's still a fun, interesting thing to do. So overall, you just need 15 credits of honors work. 6 of those are just from your regular Helen Hardin honors program, and then 9 hours in the department. So like I said, usually a directed readings class, 3 credits of the honors thesis. You can do 2 directed readings classes, or you can just do a contract. So do you guys have any questions about the honors program? Amanda Lee, you said you're gonna monitor the chat. Okay. I can't see it because I don't know how this works. All right, so I'm going to move on from honors. I also wanted to talk about study abroad. I know that a lot of you are probably feeling pretty disappointed when it comes to your academic opportunities to study abroad in the current climate. And I do want to say that don't be. Hopefully during your time, we'll still have opportunities to leave the country. But if we don't, people are coming up with really, really impressive virtual study abroad programs. So I wanted to talk about some of those so you could think about it. Right now, Dr. Brando, who's in the anthropology department, is offering a virtual study abroad that spans Latin America. It focuses on conservation and cultural change, environmental change. I was saying you have all those elective spaces. There's an upper division class that goes with this. This is a great opportunity to get credit and to work with people all over Latin America. There's 6 different professors or conservation agents who are involved in this project. You get virtual fieldwork experience, and this program is actually paid for by National Geographic. So it's a pretty big deal. It's going well, and they're actually going to extend it, and they're going to offer it again in the spring. So you definitely still have an opportunity to do this. Another thing that Study Abroad is doing that I hope you guys will think about for spring is they're offering virtual internships. So this isn't something that we've really engaged in before. We do have students who do internships abroad, but it's very few, right? So say, for example, you were interested in, costume design in theater. Now you can get a virtual internship in London, right? Where you're working for a theater company and helping them. Maybe you're doing research. There's any number of things that we can dream up that would intersect with your studies in history and still get you at least that experience and those connections abroad. It of course won't be the same as that cohort feeling of studying abroad, but like I said, we hope that after a vaccine is out, that we'll be able to do study abroad again. Generally, what I always want to say about study abroad, and this actually goes for the virtual programs as well as the in-person programs that we're used to, don't think that it's too expensive. The Study Abroad office has funds that they give to most of their students. You guys might not know this, but you're all paying into an international experience fund each semester, and that money is pulled together and used to pay for study abroad scholarships. So as long as you have a 2.75, you can apply for that money for any trip abroad. It can be these virtual trips or on the ground trips. You're usually guaranteed at least $1,000. For longer trips, it's more, $2,000 to $5,000. So you can use any scholarship money you already get, any financial aid that you have to pay for the cost of these programs. So it is definitely doable, even if you work, if you have kids. We have week-long programs, we have month month-long programs. If you've never been out of the country, you can go on a faculty-led program with a professor here. If you're a more seasoned traveler, you can go abroad for a semester or a year. I would really encourage those of you who are still early on in your studies to think about where you might want to study abroad and look into those opportunities. And I'm always happy to talk to you guys about it. I actually asked one of our majors, Meredith, to be here today so she could talk to you about her experience studying abroad. So I'm going to hand it over to Meredith, and she's going to tell us about her time in Italy.
Hi, my name is Meredith. So not this past summer, but the summer before, I went on a study abroad experience to Italy, and I was there for a month, and it was the most amazing thing. The first week I got to travel all over like the coast of Italy around Rome, all the way up to Florence, and that's where I stayed for 3 weeks taking a class. It's an amazing program, and the study abroad department here at University of Memphis is very supportive and very helpful. And for the scholarships, I went with a friend of mine, and both of us got enough money that we barely had to pay anything out of pocket. So it works out really well. I would really recommend going because it was one of the best things that I've ever decided to do. I don't know, yeah, it was just a really great experience, and yeah. You're on mute.
See, I'm telling you guys, like, I do not have this down. Do any of you guys have questions for Meredith that you want to pop into the chat or volunteer? No? Okay, thanks, Meredith. I appreciate it. All right, let's see if I'm getting better at this. No, okay. All right, so here we are, back to my PowerPoint. So the last thing I want to cover with you guys, it's a black screen. Okay, there we go, is internships. So as I said, we can do these virtual internships abroad. We can also do virtual internships in Memphis. And many of our internship partner programs actually are still operating. So there are museums, historic houses, libraries in town where they do have a small staff working, practicing social distancing. So we can definitely do internships for spring if you guys are interested. So just to give you a little more information on how that works, the internship experience is pretty low key. You get 3 hours of credit, of upper division credit toward the major, or it can be elective hours if you want, if you already have all your history classes, or you know which history classes you want to take for the major. There's 10 hours of work, more or less, each week for the 15 weeks of the semester. So you work about 150 hours, you get that credit. You do have to pay for the class the same way you would any other class. So if it's just part of your regular coursework, that's great. We often have people add it on, you know, because now you guys only pay for 12 credits. Anything extra is free. And we do offer a really nice scholarship to the students who want to do the internship. It is competitive, so it's a merit-based scholarship. It depends where you're interning, what you're studying, how it relates to history, because I will tell you, I can find a way to make almost anywhere you want to work in town or outside of town, depending on where you are in the summer or if you're abroad. I can turn that into a history experience. I've gotten pretty good at that. But the better your program relates to history, kind of the better it is for the scholarship, which is decided by a committee of professors in the department. It gives you $2,000. So really it pays for the class. If you're using it as part of your tuition, or if you're not and it's on top of your regular credits, it's more or less like getting paid $10 to $20 an hour for the work that you do. So it's a pretty easy application. It's just, you know, transcript, essay, and trying to convince us that your internship is going to either help you be a better historian or help you prepare to use your history skills on the job market. You know, people always say that you should do internships because they tell you what you want to do. They teach you that. I think it's also true that they teach you what you don't want to do. I would say at least a quarter of our students who do internships decide maybe they really don't want to work in a museum or at a library. So, it's an important thing to think about. It looks great on your resume. It's pretty easy to work into your schedule. It takes about the same time as an academic class would. And you meet great contacts, especially if you think you're going to stay in Memphis and you want to work in the city. It's really great to, network with people in the fields that you might be interested in working with down the line. So I'm going to hand it over to Sophia for a minute because she did an internship let's see, at Shiloh this summer. She is the first student to have done something like this. It was really, really impressive. So I'm gonna turn it over to her and let her chat with you.
Hi. So I interned at Shiloh this past summer, which is about 2 hours away from Memphis. Basically, I would work every day from 8 to 5. We would have to make programs to present to the public. So just on a variety of topics related to the Civil War and also to just the battlefield itself in the battle. And with creating the programs, Shiloh has a library upstairs, which is full of primary sources from the battle and a bunch of maps. And so you would have to utilize those primary sources and utilize all those sources to help create your programs. And then you would give a program once or twice a day, sometimes depending on how many programs you had. It'd be about maybe 3, but not really. And then because of COVID, we had to film Facebook videos. And so the park was temporarily shut down and we couldn't give programs to the public with the public there. And so I had to learn how to basically take a program that I was supposed to do for 30 minutes and fit it into 2 to 3 minutes for Facebook, which was interesting to say the least. And then I got to live on the park. I got perk housing because I was an intern. And then I also got the undergraduate internship award, which helped because funding from Shiloh got redirected due to COVID. So this really helped. Yeah.
Great, thanks, Sophia. I appreciate it. Does anyone have any questions for Sophia about her internship or about the internship program? No? Okay, all right. I hope you guys will really think about it. It's a really valuable experience. We do now have a career kind of guidance individual, Dr. Jamel Major. He just finished his PhD. He works for both the communications and the humanities, and he's a really good person to talk to if you want to do an internship. I usually have students meet with me first, but then sometimes also talk to Jamel because he can hook you up with internships that I don't know about, and he can help you with resumes, interviews, but he can also help you with deciding what career you want to do. Once you're getting ready to graduate, he can help you with your applications, with identifying opportunities. So he's a really good person to get to know. I've got his email up here, but like I said, I'll also send this PowerPoint out to you guys. I just wanted to touch on some of the other resources you guys have as you're nearing graduation. It's all too frequently, I get an email from from an alum about 2 or 3 months after they graduate, and they're like, oh shit, I need to get a job. What do I do? And I'm like, guys, like we talked about this, right? So I would encourage you guys to be proactive about thinking about what jobs you might want to do. There are, of course, the traditional paths that we think about with history, teaching, museum work, archival work. Many of our students go to grad school, but Jamel also places a lot of history students at, FedEx or Service Master. A lot of the skills that you guys have cultivated or will cultivate as majors teach you how to be good writers, critical thinkers, communicators. A lot of our students go into marketing, and I think some of those paths don't really seem tenable to you when you're embroiled in all of your history coursework. But talking to Jamel can be really helpful to start carving out that career path if you're not going to stay, in a history-centered career, which if you are, we can help you more with that. I would encourage you guys all to look at the Career Center. They have great resources and counseling. Again, they can give you tests to suggest what you might want to do if you're completely undecided, and they can help you with your interviews. They have a program if you need interview clothing that they can help hook you up with interview clothes. go over your resumes, all of that. So the last thing I want to say is through the Career Center, we have this program called TigerLink. And TigerLink, it's free for students and alums. You can make an account. It has tons of internship opportunities. A lot of them are paid. I'm going to tell you now, most of the internship contacts that I have are not for paid internships, right? So if you want to work in the city archives, I got you, right? But if you want to work at FedEx, TigerLink is the place to look to get a paid internship. And I can help you guys navigate that if you need assistance. But there's also job listings there. And so you guys can see what's available, where you might want to work, and get help with that. So I'm going to stop there with my PowerPoint, and I'm actually going to turn it over to some of our alums who have visited today, who are willing to talk about their work. All three women are recently out of our program, so we like to ask people who have just graduated so you guys can see where you might be in a year or 2 years, right? A lot of times at these types of things, people bring in, lawyers who have been working as lawyers for 20 years, right? And that doesn't really seem that realistic to you. So I'm going to start by introducing Gabby. Gabby graduated from our program in 2018. She's been working for 3 years in education. So she's taught in Memphis. She's currently teaching in New Orleans. She's also doing some retention work, and she already has finished an MA program in higher ed and is kind of hoping to move that way. So I'm going to turn it over to Gabby so she can talk to you about her time in the program and what she's been doing since she left U of M.
Can y'all hear me? Okay, that's my first go-to question. Can you hear me? But yes, I graduated in May of 2018. I doubled in history and African American studies. I was able to find a job like right before graduation, maybe in April. I worked at youth villages as a teacher, counselor in that role, so I kind of went down both paths. And after that, I started teaching at Shelby County Schools. I was a middle school teacher, and I also was a librarian at Southwest Community College. I love being a librarian. I think out of all my jobs I had, that was my favorite job. So it doesn't pay well. So that's something going into it. So maybe whenever I get to retire, maybe I think about going back into that, but I love being a librarian. I liked working with the students, and that kind of pushed me to want to go into the route of higher ed. And so that's when I started applying to grad school. I just graduated from LSU 2 weeks ago. So I finished my master's program in a year. So that was kind of rushed, but I wanted to get it out the way. So I just did that. Like I said, I did that 2 weeks ago, and I took a job. I was planning on moving to Baton Rouge, where LSU was located, but I got a better offer paying more money in New Orleans, so it's like 45 minutes away. So I moved to New Orleans, and I've been teaching here. This is my second year. I taught elementary and middle school last year, and this year I'm teaching high school. I work at an alternative high school because I've just been trying to get different experiences with different students. So alternative school, if you don't know, that's mostly like the kids who've been suspended or expelled from their schools, and now they come here and are like trying to help them graduate. So our school now is really fast paced. They're on like a quarter basis instead of semester, but it helps them like finish early, and we help them do internships. We help them get jobs. We help them apply to college, whatever they're interested in. And we just don't focus on academics, which I love. So we focus on like trade. So I have like a student now who wants to be a tattoo artist. So we just got him an internship with a tattoo artist in New Orleans. So he's getting credit for that, and he's set to graduate in May. So I like doing that. And I work in a retention office, as she stated. So I keep track of data and enrollment numbers. I help students get work visas and stuff like that. And I was planning on moving to higher ed before COVID hit, and that kind of ruined my plans a little bit. So that's on hold. So I'm just continuing to teach history. So I feel like with a history degree, if you want a job in education, it's going to be pretty simple and pretty quick. And if it's something outside of education, you still can get the job. But I would say like they're looking more for experiences. So like she said, the internships will be really good. So I would suggest looking into jobs maybe like a year before you graduate, just so you can get a direction and look into like what's required for those jobs. Or I think the biggest thing is making your resume seem like you did it already. So even if you didn't, or you don't have those exact experiences, I'm not going to say make it up, but take what you did and tweak it and make it seem like you did. because in my experience in my 3 years, nobody has checked my resume to say, did you really do this? So use that to your advantage. I would also say be prepared to apply to 200 billion jobs. And that can be a little discouraging at first, but you only need one job. So you apply to 200 billion, but somebody's going to call you back when you think about if you only need one job. And I also say, don't feel bad if you have to take a job that's not exactly what you want, because I know a lot of people after college, like they think, I want to do this, I want to do this. Just because you take a job that's not exactly what you want doesn't mean you're not going to do that. It could just be like a stepping stone. And I don't believe in staying in jobs long, clearly, which is why I had like 5 jobs and I've graduated 3 years ago. So you can take that job and still continue to look for another job. So don't be discouraged about that. Do not let social media make you think you're a failure because you're not a lawyer making $500,000 in a year. Also, what's my other go-to? I'm trying to think. Don't compare yourself to other people, because I think when I first graduated, I was seeing a lot of people on social media was like, oh yeah, I got this perfect job. I'm moving to San Diego and it's going to be great. In reality, they went to San Diego to be poor because San Diego is very expensive. But on social media, it seemed like it was a perfect thing to do. So don't let stuff like that get in the way of what you're doing. Like, your journey and your goal is for you, and what you do is equally as important as to what somebody else is doing. So like I've said, I've had 5 jobs and I've made more money than my friends who went into the medical field, which is, the thing they tell you. They say, don't get a history degree because blah, 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 go into science and all this stuff. That's fine. But like I said, I've had a steady job and I've been making more money than my friends in the medical field. So I think my summary of everything is, don't believe in the hype. Do what you're interested in. And I feel like if you're interested in what you do and you like what you do, you'll have a better passion for it. And in the end, it'll make you more successful. So I enjoyed my time at the University of Memphis. Still keep in contact. Miss G, my first year teaching, I text her and was like, I'm teaching Egypt, I need help. And she sent me like her whole portfolio about everything. My 6th graders, I had to dig through it, but they appreciated it. Amanda, I see her every time I'm in town almost, and she wrote my recommendation for letter for grad school. I'm considering getting my doctorate. I haven't decided if I'm going down that dark path yet, but I'm thinking about it, and she said she'll write my recommendation letter again. So I just think the University of Memphis is a great program. It's a great school, and there are a lot of resources. So everything that they talked about while we've been in the Zoom is very important. I would say, like, utilize it to the best of your abilities.
Awesome, Gabby. Thank you. That was much better advice than I give. So everyone should listen to Gabby. Do you guys have any questions about Gabby's experiences, teaching, being on the job market, anything like that? No? Okay. Thanks so much, Gabby. All right, so next up, let's see, we have Claire. Claire graduated from her program in 2019, so last year. She majored in history with a minor in classics. She's in an MA program now at Brandeis up north near Boston. She got her program totally paid for, right? So she's going to school for free. She gets a stipend. She got summer travel money, which I'm not sure what you did with it. We'll talk about that. But I know that a lot of you are thinking about going to, into teaching like Gabby or going to grad school. So Claire is going to talk about her experience here in the history program and what she's doing now.
Okay, hi. Yeah, so as Dr. G said, I had a major, and so I was taking history courses kind of centered around the ancient Mediterranean world, Greece, Rome, Egypt. And I knew that I wanted to go into a classics grad program. So the grad program I'm in and at Brandeis is the Ancient Greek and Roman Studies program. And I'm taking classes more geared towards Roman life. I'm writing my thesis on the brothels of Pompeii, so it's kind of spicy. But I think I got up there, I thought that I was going to go do this master's and go directly into PhD. And I was like, hold on, I don't think I want to do that anymore. And I think that's okay. I think a lot of people have those thoughts when they get, they start thinking of what they're going to do after. I'm glad that I'm in the program I'm in because it is going to give me some, valuable, research skills and developing those more. And I think the career that I want to go into is museums. So either that's museum collections or data management, stuff like that. But honestly, my time at the University of Memphis in the history department was amazing. Like I can't hype it up enough. Like Dr. G, and she was my advisor. She was great, but I also spent a lot of time with Amanda. They really shaped my experience. So it's definitely worth it if you want to decide to be a history major. You won't regret it. And they will definitely help you through anything you want to know or anything you want to apply for, stuff like that. So I don't know if you, I also got an award, Janet M. Sherman Award. I'm not sure if she's doing that again, but she is. Okay, so yeah, and that was just for women's studies. So I wrote my paper on, I think, ancient Egyptian women. But yeah, so there's definitely opportunities to, if you're struggling, that, they have different types of awards, stuff like that. And don't be afraid to apply for them. Even if you think you might get them, just go ahead and do it, because I honestly did that a couple times and I got some awards, and that definitely helped. So yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Claire. Yeah, so Claire brings up a good point that I haven't mentioned yet. I talked about this internship award, but we also have departmental awards. And so I'll email you guys about these usually late in the fall. The application cycle runs from usually, it's terrible timing because they release it in the late winter. And your applications are due February 1st. So it's kind of like over Christmas break that you need to be engaging in this scholarship process. But I will email you like crazy, tell you about the scholarship manager, where you create a profile and put your information in, and then the departmental awards. And we have a wide range of awards, like the Sherman Award that Claire got, where you write or submit a paper you've already written about the study of women and family. We have awards for people who study US history specifically. There are paper writing awards where you can submit a good paper that you've written. So we definitely have a lot of funding opportunities for majors that you guys should take advantage of. But getting back to Claire, do you guys have questions about grad school? Nothing? You guys have no questions about what grad school is like?
What made you want to skip going directly to your doctorate after your master's?
I realized that I did not want to be in academia. So for me, getting a PhD and not teaching didn't make sense. I might, go back if one of the museum jobs, like to be like an actual curator or something like that. But now I'm okay with just getting my master's and working after that.
And Claire's she's had some internships too that I think have helped inform those. Like, can you talk for a minute about the internships you've done?
Yes. So at the University of Memphis, my senior spring semester, so that was spring of 19, I was the intern for MOC, which is the Humanities, Mandel Center for Humanities. And that's a coalition of different departments in the humanities, and they have like meetings, and so I would record the meetings, and they just talk about their research and stuff like that. So that was really interesting. And then when I've been at Brandeis, I interned at the Charles River Museum of Innovation and Industry, and that was a big place during the Industrial Revolution. So they have a lot of that kind of stuff, and I was working on data management and just collections management. So that was another experience.
Perfect, thanks. Anybody else have any questions? No? Okay, all right, thank you, Claire. All right, our last alum is Ellie. Ellie works at the Pink Palace. She is an instructor in the education department. She majored in history and English, and she graduated in 2018. So again, just right in the last few years. So Ellie, you wanna tell us a little bit about what you've been up to?
Hi, can everybody hear me? All right, so as Dr. G said, I work in the education department at the Pink Palace, which wasn't originally what I was shooting for, but it's a lot more interesting than I thought it would be going into it. And more than anything, I've realized going into the museum environment how fine of a skill set actually researching and being able to check your sources and fact check information is. You don't think of it as being a fine skill set until you're actually doing a lot of it. Working in a museum like this in particular, we go through so many subjects so quickly. We have a bunch that we go through all the time, some that we only do for a little while, and we have so many different programs that we're pretty much constantly researching and developing new ways that we can kind of send it to an audience, especially now. We had different ways pre-COVID, but now we're trying to figure out different ways we can do it without contact, without people coming into the museum, or just on the internet in general. We, in particular in education, work with all of the other different departments. So we have things that we do with exhibits, we have things we do with collections, and things we do with CTI Theater and the planetarium. And the best advice I can give you if you're thinking about going into a museum is definitely do an internship, because once you get into a museum, it's a lot different than what you would expect. First of all, I found it to be great. I loved all the things I didn't expect. Some people might not. But also there's a lot of different things in a museum, a bunch of different roles that you didn't realize quite existed. So you definitely want to try to find out where you might want to fit in. And then hopefully if you get in early enough, you can tailor your learning a little bit more to it. And further advice I have that I've learned from talking to my friends a lot of people, I'm sure you guys have dealt with this, will tell you that history is not the best degree to get for whatever reason. But I find that a huge difference takes place in your quality of life depending on whether or not you love what you do. And I absolutely love what I do, and I would not trade it for any amount of money. So definitely think about that when you're deciding if you want to change your major or if you want to go into history.
All right, awesome, thank you. Do you guys have any questions?
I just had one. What's the Pink Palace?
So the Pink Palace Museum, it's here in Memphis over by Chickasaw Gardens. It's originally was the mansion of Clarence Saunders, who was a Memphian who started self-service grocery stores with Piggly Wiggly. He went bankrupt for the first time before he could finish his mansion, so the city took it over and we've expanded it into a natural history, science, and cultural history museum.
Oh, okay.
Awesome. Anybody else? Questions? No? Okay. Thank you so much, Ellie. I appreciate it. All right. I'm going to hand it over to Professor Savage now, and she's going to tell you about some student involvement things, resources, and we'll just keep rolling.
All right. So just to echo a few things that have already come up, don't lie on your resume, but we can certainly help you learn how
to lie a little. You can lie a little. We don't call it lying though.
Teach you how to like phrase things in the most compelling way. And certainly one of the skill sets you will develop in this department is how to be specific and precise and compelling. So, and also I thought I was going to be the next Laura Croft or the next Lady Indiana Jones, and I had to wash rocks for a whole semester before I learned that I could not tell the difference between a rock and a stone tool, not to save my life. And so now I'm no longer fancying myself an archaeologist, but I never would have been able to do that if I hadn't done an internship. And so I'm so grateful that at my undergrad institution, I took advantage of that. I did it on a whim at the last minute because I didn't know what else to take, and it proved an invaluable experience. Sometimes you don't know what you can't do until you can't do it, until they send you to scan slides for a whole semester instead. So I wanted to speak a little bit about student involvement opportunities on campus. But before I did that, I wanted to share some information about what barriers might prevent you from getting more involved or being on campus more, and then how you can kind of get resources or support for them. So one of the first things I wanted to talk about is the crisis or the counseling center, in case you're having a crisis of any kind, and you don't even have to be having a crisis. It is a crisis resource center, but it's also a counseling center. We know that students, even without a global pandemic, are often under tremendous amounts of stress. And students get that stress from a variety of places. Some of them feel it because they're the first person in their families to go to college and they feel the weight of those expectations. And some of them feel it because we are all incredibly, it seems like, I don't know what about this major attracts this, but we're all kind of anxious people who are a little bit neurotic. And so maybe we need some counseling there. The counseling center at our university is excellent, and especially during the global pandemic, they are doing a tremendous amount of outreach, and you can do your appointments virtually. They actually have, we can't use it now, but they have a relaxation room, and so even if you're not feeling like you need, you know, like a chance to talk to somebody about what you're going through, there are places to get like massages, and they have a lot of music, and you do a lot of meditation, and so it's really like a wellness center, and they're pretty holistic there, and so. But again, I know that we are often under a tremendous amount of stress in these environments. Academia is a high pressured environment and a high stress environment. And so that is one moment. That is one opportunity for you. Another, if you're having sort of financial problems, the Dean of Students office does have an entire page of like crisis resource management support. In particular, here at the university, we offer a significant amount of support for students who are having food insecurity. We do have a food pantry here on campus. Many of you already know this because you've been with me for a while, but Dr. G and I actually created the food pantry in the clothing closet here on campus, and we used to run it out of Mitchell Hall in the basement. And we finally, after running it for a few years, just she and I, and this is why you don't ask permission to do things, you just do things and hope they work out. We were finally able to get it on campus. And so now it's over in the University Center. We have meal swipe programs that will give donated meal swipes to students so that you can use them at the UC. The food pantry is open, you can use it anytime. We also have the Rosie Bingham Emergency Fund. And so if you find yourself in sort of a financial crisis, that is a really good resource. There's an application, it's a pretty easy application. You can get up to $500, you can be awarded twice. And if you've encountered any kind of roadblock that is really preventing you from moving forward with your degree program, it's a really great resource. We even will do book funds sometimes for students. And so we never want those things to be the reason you can't finish school. It doesn't matter if you're in our department or not, obviously, right? But we don't want those things to prevent you from being on campus or from joining us virtually. And so we try to make sure that all the students we know have those resources. Otherwise, once you are, you know, secure with your homes and your food and you're fed and everything is fine and you're not having to work too much, we actually have a number of things on campus that for you to do. If you haven't already checked out the involvement zone or logged into your Tiger thing, I forgot the name of it. Crap. Well, somebody in SHS will tell you what it's called. I have forgotten it. You can do that. And if you're interested in anything, there is probably a club on campus here for you. We do tend to do a lot with the Stonewall Tigers in particular, with a number of other clubs on campus that we just happen to have close relationships with. And so you might hear about them more from us, but those aren't the only clubs on campus. And so you can always go to the website, the memphis.edu website, /involvement, and see kind of a list of all the student leadership and involvement opportunities. And a really nice thing about our university is that we've had online programs for a tremendous amount of time. And so there are opportunities for students online and to, you know, tap into virtually, whereas other universities are sort of just scrambling to get all of that stuff up and running now for their students in the midst of the pandemic. In our department, though, we do have a number of opportunities for you. I'll let SHS talk about the stuff that we have going on this semester, but we have a Student History Society. It's a history club where we I guess I don't know what we do right now, but it's mostly sitting around and gossiping and complaining about people and me trying not to be there while they're complaining about their professors. But it's a lot of fun. We do a lot on campus. We try to host a caffeine and cake at least every semester. I think this year we're doing 2, if we can get Dr. Duenas Vargas on board. But, and that's just an event where we sit around in the HERC, but now we will do it on Zoom and consume cupcakes and other confections and drink coffee and tea together. It is literally just a sit around and chat with your professor day. And they've been really successful so far. We've gotten to hear a lot of origin stories from our professors, and that's always been very interesting. And sometimes they go off on tangents, and that's also kind of fun. Our department itself hosts some pizza lectures where we were all eating pizza and watching faculty members and graduate students present their research. We're going to continue that, but of course in a Zoom fashion. Whoops. And so we'll have those moving forward so you can hear more directly from your faculty members. And if they're working on something that you find interesting, you can talk to them afterward and maybe take their classes. We do also have a plot in the community garden. Keegan is my my head gardener over there. He's the man for that. And in that plot, we were growing ingredients for pizza last time we did it, and because we have the pizza lectures. And then there was another plot that I was supposed to plant some stuff in, and I just never got around to it. And so if gardening, community work, supporting people through growing their own food, if that is anything you are interested in, environmental history, we have 2 garden plots for you to come help us plant. So we have the community, or the garden that we run, the pizza lectures, the caffeine and cakes. And then 2 years ago, or a spring and a half ago, we had our first undergraduate research colloquium, HERC in the HERC. So History Undergraduate Research Colloquium in the HERC. And it was a beautiful success. We were able to get 4 graduating students to present their research. And their families came, and it was a lot of fun. We obviously had to cancel it in the spring, but we are hoping to bring it back in the this next upcoming spring, even if we have to do it virtually. So be on the lookout for that. If you're a junior or senior student, there's an application process, and you'll have an opportunity to present your research here. So the spring, we often usually have an awards banquet as well. Again, those things will all be COVID sort of pending, but we try to do a lot of things here to celebrate you. This is a department where you have a tremendous amount of contact with the professionals that you are hoping, to join after we're done training you. And so we think of it as sort of apprentice training. We think of it as like getting you ready to join a workforce, certainly, but you're also all young budding historians, right? And so we try to take every opportunity we can to encourage you and to create a social environment that will be welcoming and inclusive. I think I covered everything. I hope I didn't leave anything out. All right, so I think next we're going to meet some of the majors, right? I think that's next on our agenda. All right, and so Caitlin has joined us. Yes. All right.
I'm Caitlin. I'm a junior here, and I really enjoy being a part of the history department because we get to experience so many different perspectives from so many different professors who have different areas of expertise. You get exposed to so many different viewpoints that I never considered before coming here. And even just with your classmates, you get to be part of a community where you get to learn so much, and not just in the classroom environment, but like with the SHS, we're doing movie nights where we get to explore different stuff that they'll talk about, but you get to experience things in a way that I never thought about before being in this department. So I really enjoy it.
Thank you so much for that. So I was just monitoring the chat and laughing about the laser tag because it had been a while since I thought of that. So yeah, we have a good time in this department. I will say that things might not always go smoothly, but we have a good time. I wasn't sure, did anybody else? I know I've got some SHS folks here, some other ones that we're going to talk in a moment about our upcoming events, but did you all want to take a moment to introduce yourself? Can you give me a nod or a no, or? Yeah, all right. Why don't I start with the people on top in mind? Sophia, I'm not going to reintroduce you. You already got introduced. So I'll let you talk at the next one. TJ, why don't you say hey?
My name is TJ. I am one of the officers of SHS. We kind of run things as a council. And my major is, of course, history, and my minor is anthropology. Beyond that, the reasons I study history would be because it searches for truth in a time where truth is kind of rare these days. So, next.
All right, what about Keegan? Would you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Keegan. I'm a graduate student at the University of Memphis. I'm also one of the executive officers. I graduated back in 2018, and then they just can't get rid of me. But yeah, I'm still working with the history department. My main focus is on ancient Mediterranean history. specifically like food cultures in that period, and that's why I still work with the garden.
All right, thank you. And then Holly, did you say that you were agreeable to this? I couldn't remember.
Sure. My name is Holly, and I am a senior. I've actually been a senior for a few years now, triple major, and one of them is history. And the reason that I love history is not only, as TJ was talking about, kind of getting to the truth of things, but even if history does not help us to predict the future, it does often help us to understand the present. And I think that's extremely important on its own. And it's just rockin' fun.
It is. Oh, so thank you all for doing that. I know it's having to go and take turns on Zoom can be a little awkward, so I appreciate that. And then I was going to turn it back over. I should have checked to see which one of you was going to do this next part, but if anybody on SHS would talk about our upcoming events.
Yes, we have a few upcoming events. We had to limit it in part because of the pandemic and the fact that we weren't all going to be on campus, but we're doing what we can, and of course keeping in mind to incoming history students that while it's fun to do and we hope that you could participate in as many as possible, we also understand that you've got a workload, that you may have a job to do, and don't feel pressured if you can't do it, but we hope to see you. We've got a couple of the pizza lectures that Amanda Lee had mentioned. Once again, normally they're called pizza lectures because we get together in the auditorium and we have a professor that is lecturing on something they have researched, and we have pizza while we listen to them. So what we're doing is suggesting that everybody just order pizza on your own or order whatever you want, and then join in the Zoom lectures. And we are having one upcoming by, at the risk of mispronouncing her name, Machado, Dr. Machado. And then again, if we can get Dr. Buenos Vargas to speak, we're hoping that that we can get her to do one as well later in the semester, like early November or thereabouts. We also have a Halloween costume contest that we enjoy doing, where you know, people can dress up in any kind of historical figure or historical period. Last year, I dressed up as Alexander Hamilton from the musical and had a blast doing it, and got a lot of compliments from people. But it's just a way to kind of more actively enjoy the history that you're studying. And what we're doing this year is we're asking people to take pictures of themselves, and then they will submit the pictures to the SHS, and then, you know, we will judge from there who the winner is. We also have, we introduced something new, which is kind of a movie club that operates basically like a book club does. We tried to figure out what all the areas of history were, whether it be ancient, modern, whether it be a different area of the world, if it's global. And then through the semesters, we will just rotate through them and pick a movie that represents that topic or that region, a movie that is widely available. And then we get together and we discuss it, both in terms of historical accuracy, historical fallacies. And the first one is coming up next Thursday. And we will be getting the Zoom information out to you. But the first one is the movie The Patriot. So we're focusing on American history for that one. And it is available on Netflix, it's available on Hulu, and it's also available to rent on various sites if you don't happen to already subscribe to one of those other two. The next one is going to be October 15th. And that one is global history because we're celebrating the end of the 75th anniversary, the end of World War II. And so we will be doing A Bridge Too Far. And in both cases, we will have a panel of at least one instructor who is an expert in that area of history to kind of talk about some of those accuracies and fallacies and help drive the discussion. These are some of the things that the Student History Society is doing this semester. To my fellow officers, am I leaving out anything?
Nothing that we had explicitly planned for this upcoming semester. I know we have Caffeine and Cake with Aram Gitsosian in November.
Yes.
Yes. But we don't have anything else planned beyond our movie nights, our Caffeine and Cakes, and our potential mouth words are hard, guys.
So just keep an eye out. Keep an eye out on our calendar. We've got everything posted on there. So, and we want to see you. We would love to see you.
You can also follow us on Instagram or on Facebook, and we post all the events there like 2 weeks beforehand, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, and if you guys are majors, we've sent the undergraduate calendar out that has all these events on it, and we'll send it again, and we'll be putting it, like Sophia said, we'll be putting it up on social media. For those of you who end up watching the video who are not history majors, you can email me for information. I'll put my email here in the chat, or you can just look me up on the website. All right, do we have anything else? No? All right, well, I wanted to thank you guys so much for coming. This has been really great. Thanks to our majors, to our alums. We really appreciate you guys coming and talking, and thanks to all of you who came just to listen and to hear what's going on. You can email me or Professor Savage. I still don't know how to use the chat, so I'm gonna do that real quick with any questions that you have. And otherwise, we hope to see you virtually for advising. You know, I told you guys we're just working on the schedule now. It should be ready around the end of the month, and then you'll get an email to set up virtual appointments. We'll let you guys choose what you want to do. If you want to do email advising, that's fine. We'll encourage you to try to do some Zoom face-to-face. I should also tell you that the schedule went live yesterday on the website. So just remember that the registrar does that, and what you guys are seeing online is not the classes that we're offering. That's what was offered last spring. So go by that list that I gave you. I'll give you a copy of that as well. I'll send it out to all the majors, so you'll have that list of classes. And it might change a bit, but don't use the registrar's list. Let's see. I think that's it. All right. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Bye.
Bye.